What's up, you guys? Welcome to new Lightshare Labs. Today I'm here with Adrian and Andre again, and we're going to do a paintover on a student piece by Tim Noakes. He's currently an artist residing in New Zealand, and we're just going to provide him as much feedback as we can and see how we can make his character concept a lot better. So let's get into it.
I like this druid type of character with lots of ornaments and stuff. I think there's a lot of potential here. I don't know, what do you guys think about the pose?
I think the pose is fine. The proportions seem a bit off. Like,
Yeah.
this arm is like extra long. If she was holding up kind of like with an armband, which seems the intention, right? The arm would be more
The way
like
she's
here.
Yeah, the way she's grabbing the stick is a little
Yeah, like her hands like completely straight up. I do think that in general, like if I was going to point out what kind of looks like to me, is that the photos took over a bit too much.
it looks a little crowded, right? Like everything
the
silhouette
shines
breakup
just
as
as
well.
bright, right?
And like, some photos are like lit from here, some are lit from here. There seems to be that because there's this disconnect, right? Like there's the design portion, which I think is cool. Like it does need some fine tuning, but I think the execution is where it really fell off, because you perceive this. So as an example, if we look at her face and like her staff, right? The light's coming from completely different directions, and then we have extra bright spots like here, like everywhere. It's super bright. So you kind of don't know where to look at, and you get overwhelmed by the amount of noise.
I think here with the loincloth.
So
I think we could keep. Oh yeah, the movement and the I think for the lighting thing, we could keep it from this direction, you know, the brightest kind of thing. So we get this rim light effect on her edges, right? That's cool. And then we could have all this inner kind of part here be lit up with this sort of like a soft light, which could be coming from either this or these glowing things, whatever these things are, right? Flowers, bioluminescent plants, you know, or even this little globe here that is like, I can help it, but I imagine it glowing. So why not do that instead, right? Yeah.
And
well, we could have her silhouette kind of be a little darker and like a gradient, you know, from in the background, like from this horizon line upwards, to have like a gradient of darker colors.
Yeah.
So then her silhouette kind of looks darker against this brighter background. And we're making a mess here with all these lines.
We are. Also, like one thing that I wanted to point out is like I don't know if this is one single photo, but that's a dangerous place to go to, because it's like if you're grabbing her entire upper torso and face and all from a single photo, like what is the value that you're adding, right? At this point, you're just mixing a photo that you didn't took to other elements here, right? But it's too much. If you're going to use Photo Bash, I would recommend you to like mix even the face, right? Take different faces from different photos and mix that up and actually have ownership over your character or your design. Because right now, like let's say that you took all of that from a single photo. Are you really like designing all of these?
It's just dictating everything from one picture, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you are not making decisions. And then the decisions that you are making, seems to me that like, okay, you are deciding to put this on and this on and this on, and it's all same sized elements, same size as the head. Like the proportions are a bit off. The staff, it's almost exactly like the size of the character, like from here to here.
There should be a more clear hierarchy, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Like everything's very even,
right,
all throughout the design, right? All of the elements, even the light ones, are like all occupying the same volume. And I think part of that is design, and part of that is how you show that through the painting, right? Because I don't mind like this being like the same size as this. It's just that you could throw that into the shadow. You could just like give a less emphasis to one part of the image to like compared to another.
Yeah, I guess big part of the problem is also here, I would say. This area that seems like very crowded, and you wanna have the character stand out a little more. So her face would be a nice starting point, because we all tend to kind of first you find the face, right? You find the eyes. You want to locate that area on the character to look at, to connect with. So her face would be a nice starting point to clear that up a little more. And then we could have the staff and everything have like a secondary presence and not steal the show as much as all these things are doing here.
That's space.
Hierarchy. There you go.
Yeah, I think this is a big word. Just because you need to decide where you want people to look at. Right now, like you'll look everywhere, because everywhere
I would say the spot right here is probably the biggest area of rest, but I think it just needs a little bit more variation. But this will probably be the main focus.
Yeah.
And also, like, is gravity going at a diagonal here in this world?
Just make straight down.
It's kind of like super
it looks
swords up there.
It looks very solid, you know, like
I think the intention was probably to kind of like had it like
a wavy pattern.
Here. Yeah, but like after it crossed the leg, right? It kind of like falls
Gesture,
to the center.
line of action could improve. You know, just having a little bit more flow with the pose would help a lot.
Also, these little things here look a little stiff. They might be stiff because the material is stiff, but the shape they have doesn't really favor the whole composition, I think, because they're pretty chaotic in a way, and they could be
like same sized everything. Even
exactly.
the space in between them is same size.
Great point.
So.
Yeah, you could have them maybe longer at the back, because you could see some of them fall back there, and maybe the ones in front are a little shorter, you know, stuff like that, because she seems to wear this very organic you know, setup per se, like this
Also,
what's the name, outfit.
Like, that's interesting thing that you mentioned, because what if like this whole thing went like up there as well? Because right now one of the reasons why it looks so disjointed, it's because like her coat, which is a very big aspect of her, goes all the way to the half portion, and then like if you cut it from here to here, it seems one character, from here to here seems another one, because here's like extra simplistic, no set of like little doodly things, no like she could be wearing all of those things on her ankle as well, and making like all of that in terms of design, right?
Yeah.
Why is she having all of those little details and embellishment things only on her upper body, right? It doesn't seem the same character, or maybe even like some rings on her hand.
Or tattoos, or some marks.
Yeah,
on
the other
skin.
hand is like extra tattooed.
Yeah.
And this hand is like extra simplistic. I believe they are two different photos, it seems like it. But even if they were not, the idea that you can kind of like edit that to make it a bit better and to make it feel cohesive.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not saying like have all the same amount of detail everywhere, but have that being kind of like a gradient, right? It radiates from her head, which is the most detailed part, and then her body like kind of like has details all throughout, but it kind of comes at more sparingly on the like very edges. The photo that he took for the feet is like really low res, and then the ground is like extra noisy, extra detail, and
way more.
I kind of want to look. Yeah, I kind of want to look at this area like all the time.
I mean, I'd like to think that this is a work in progress type of piece, right? Because if this is considered to be a finished piece, is definitely not okay. Because there's a lot of things that, despite being a concept, right, should be a little more accurate and more clear, I would say. Just like you pointed out, the feet and the legs and all that stuff.
I mean, you can
the main focal points, right?
You can have the feet being like less detailed, right, or brushy or whatever. But then, like,
Yeah,
all
but
of those things,
I mean, the outline of the body is not like you see
and then,
the
like,
ankle there.
all of these things that are in theory less important than her, like, why are they more detailed then, right?
Yeah.
Or are they more refined? And yeah, I think that's kind of
Most
it.
of the feedback I have.
Yeah, that should
Awesome.
do it.
And just to clarify, like, we are giving our thoughts on like how we can take this to the next level. And
Yeah, that's what we would do.
like,
you know.
we would like to see the results after like you apply the feedback. But yeah.
Yeah.
Now, let's move on to the Paintover and see what we can do to make this better.
Let's go.
So, for this, I'm just starting with a basic gesture, putting on some very light anatomy and draping some clothes on just to see like how it'll look on the pose. And also just keeping in mind of silhouette, how we can space things out, like the staff is not too close to the body. Just giving like plenty of breathing room. Everything is just kind of sketched out at first. We're not using any photos. Yeah, we just want to see like the main forms.
You know, that
I mean, you're
that
keeping
step
in
is
the
something.
rough proportions and the rough idea. I see.
But I think that
Trying to-
that step of sketching before using photos, it's honestly like a great help for if you're starting out, to help the design and really bring all of those, like thinking about the key points, where you want like the hierarchy to point to, all of that. I think it's probably the most important step, because then like if you add photos on top of it, it's way easier for you to kind of control where your details go. So
Yeah. And starting out with the grayscale too is nice. You can see what values are working, and then from there you can like light the character in the scene. And
This
then
way you have
put
no
light-
distractions with textures or colors or anything like that. You keep it simple.
Yeah. I'm
See,
just adding
now,
some gradients.
exactly.
putting
Now
in
at
some
this
lights.
stage,
But yeah, I'm just colorizing some of the.
whoa.
Oh. So we just darken the whole background a bit and like push more contrast up front. And here I just like put a face of a person in just to like cut down a little bit of the time. You can do this in concept art to make your process a bit faster, because having a more accurate face is nicer than having a face that's not as accurate, because we as humans, we tend to look at the face first in a character. So the more accurate you can get a face, the better. And then from there you can rework or work more of the secondary details, right? Like the cloak and stuff and the lighting more.
yeah. And also notice how he's actually remaking the lighting on that initial photo that he used as a face.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have to stay that way. That's precisely what Andrea is trying to say this whole time, right? Like, you should not let that initial picture that you're using guide your design. So Dom, in this case, he used that picture and he's remodeling the lighting and possibly many other design aspects of it. Maybe, I don't know, you add piercings or tattoos, or you change the eyes, or you change... It doesn't have to be the same way you got the picture at the beginning.
Yeah.
See, even like this piece of cloth or whatever that was that he's using that to his advantage instead of letting it dictate his design. He's slicing it
It's
up.
just a little bit of texture, yeah.
Lasso tool, transform, warp, stretch, do whatever you need to get that detail in there.
So now it's just getting the overall picture of the concept. Not focus too much on detailing. Everything's just sort of planned out with the overall pose, right? Not getting too in the nitty gritty. Like, we're not zooming in too much. We're just painting a little bit far away.
And I love how you are kind of like looking at the design and just looking at all of the elements. So basically the idea of the design is still the same, right? You're just painting it in a, I don't want to say like in a nicer way, but a more controlled way. So you are thinking about the size of the elements that you're putting in, like how they overlap or don't. How that, like, I really like how that yellow thing that on the concept was basically like unlit. Now you made it unemissive to have another like point of light over there. And it kind of guides your eye through the image. So from her face to the yellow little thing to like a couple of those blue stuff, and then the orange like that is getting lit in the bottom.
Yeah,
Now we're
it's
moving on to
basically,
Adrian.
yeah, this is me now painting, and it's basically keeping those things in mind that we already mentioned through the whole episode, right? The proportions, the lighting, the atmosphere, the hierarchy structure, all of that stuff. And as you've seen here, what I started doing first is I noticed her head was probably a little small for like the whole proportions of her body. That's the first thing I addressed. And then I'm starting to just, I'm kind of getting into the nitpicky kind of details here with like, oh, piercings maybe here, tattoos there. Let me see. But I'm just completing the whole picture at this point, with either lighting or maybe these. I'm trying to respect the initial design, the tendencies at least that we had in the beginning with all of those things hanging, but in a more controlled way so it doesn't end up with like a lot of objects of the same size all across the image. So I'm trying to keep it a little more. Oh, here's like a little experiment that I thought
cool
of.
what you did with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought of
Extracting the power.
I was actually trying to make that hand do something else than just touching her belly, So I thought, hey, maybe if I create this kind of grabbing gesture and she has like a spell that's being created there. What if she drags the power from that thing on the staff? And what if those other blue things are left more like on a secondary plane, in the background? So that's cool. See, and here's the silhouette kind of thing I was talking about. And the gradient as well. So now I'm just reworking that hand a little bit to make it match the way she's grabbing the staff. And that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, there's not much more to say about it. It's just everything we said put into perspective here, put in action.
Yeah.
We just hope it helped you. And
Yeah. With that being said, thanks guys for watching. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
See you guys.